Hello, astronomers! Welcome back to Science with Miss Pearson. Today we're going to be continuing to learn about different objects in the sky. So far, we've learned about the sun, and we learned that the sun does not appear to stay in the same place throughout the day. In fact, the sun looks like it's moving from the east to the west. An important thing to remember is wherever the sun is rising is the east, and wherever the sun sets is the west. So, in this picture, if the sun was rising over here and then setting over here as the arrow shows, then this is the east and this is the west. But in this picture, if the sun is rising over here and setting over here, then over here would be the east and over here would be the west. So depending on wherever the sun is rising, that's the east. Wherever the sun is setting, that's the west. Then we've also recently been talking about the moon. And we learned that the moon can appear during the daytime and the nighttime. It's always existing, it's always around, it's just easier to see during the nighttime. We also learned that just like the sun, the moon does not always stay in the same spot. Instead, the moon appears to be changing and moving as well. Today, we're going to learn about what's called moon phases. The moon phases explain why the moon doesn't always look like a big, round, bright circle in the sky. Sometimes it looks a little bit almost like a toenail, and sometimes you might not see it at all. Now, this video is going to explain to us the phases of the moon and how the moon might look different in the sky and why. Some important things to remember before we watch this video are, first, we live on a planet called Earth. In the video, they're going to bring up Earth. Earth is this planet right here, and that's the planet or the place where we live. Also, all the objects that we see in the sky, like the sun, the moon, and the stars, they exist in what's called space. Earth is in space too. All those objects are in space. It's just the sun, the moon, and the stars, they're not on our planet. They're outside, and that's why we see them in our sky. Okay, so let's watch the video. Make sure your eyes are glued to the screen. You're gonna learn so much about the moon and the moon phases. Here we go.
The moon is our nearest neighbor in space. It is much closer to us than the sun. It is only 239,000 miles away. The sun is 93 million miles away. The moon is much smaller than the Earth. The moon is not like the sun or other stars. It does not give off its own light. It only reflects the light of the sun. That means the sun's light bounces off it. A planet orbits a sun. A moon orbits a planet. The moon takes 28 days to go completely around the Earth. The moon is not smooth on its surface. It has craters, big holes. It has no air. It does not have water. So there is no life on the moon. But people have visited the moon. Neil Armstrong, an American astronaut, was the first person to step on the moon.
Team, show me silent excitement if you want to go to the moon one day. I see lots of future astronauts. Awesome. Let's keep learning about the moon. Soon the person's going to tell us more about the different moon phases. So listen carefully.
Moon phases. The moon looks different at different times. Does it change its shape? No, the moon stays the same. What changes is how we see it from Earth.
Team, does the moon's shape change? No way, Jose. Like the scientist said, the moon just looks different from Earth, but it's not changing shape. We're going to find out in a second how it looks different or why it looks different.
But we don't always see all of that side. Sometimes we only see part of it. This is because of the way it moves around the Earth. Remember that the moon only reflects the light of the sun. So when the sun is behind the moon, we can't see it at all. We call this a new moon.
Team, when the moon is right in front of the sun, we can't see it at all. That's because the sun hitting the moon is causing the moon to have a shadow, and the shadow blocks us from being able to see the moon. Let's keep watching.
The night is very dark. When the sun is facing the moon, we see the whole face of the moon lit up. This is called a full moon. What happens between the new moon and the full moon? We see only parts of the moon. First, we see just a little slice. Only a little of the sun's light is hitting the moon. It seems to get bigger each night. Then we can see half of the moon lit up. Each night we see more and more of it. Then finally we see the full moon. After that, it seems to get smaller again. We see less and less of it. Then we cannot see it at all. From Earth, it looks like the sun is not lighting up the moon. This is called the new moon. Then the cycle starts all over again. These are called the phases of the moon.
Team, what are these called? Yeah, they're called the phases of the moon. So the moon might start out as a full moon where you can see the full circle of the moon. It gradually gets a little bit smaller till it looks like a little toenail. Then you don't see the moon at all, and then it gradually gets a little bit bigger, or you can see more of it.
The next time you're outside at night, look at the moon. Watch how it changes from one night to the next. Let us now summarize what we have learned.
Awesome, team. We've learned a lot in this video. We learned that the moon reflects sunlight, and we learned that the moon orbits the Earth, so it goes around the Earth. We also learned about the different moon phases, and we know that we can't see the moon all the time. We just see different parts of it depending on where it is, and that's what makes it look like it has a different shape. Awesome, friends. Let's keep talking about this idea of moon phases. So as you can see here, these are the different moon phases. The moon might start out as a full moon, then you can see a little bit less of it, then you can only see half of it, then you see a tiny bit of it. Again, I call that a toenail moon because it looks like a toenail. Then you don't see any of the moon. That's called a new moon. Then you see another toenail moon. Then you see half the moon. Then you see a little bit more of the moon. And we're back to the beginning. Team, I want to see how much you've learned about moon phases so far. So we're going to head back to Seesaw. On Seesaw, I want you to fill in some of these missing moon phases. So you can see I blocked out some of these. And right now you can only see a bit of the toenail moon. Then you're missing some of the moon. Here's the other toenail moon. You see half a moon. A little bit more of the moon. Another part of the moon you're missing. You see a little bit more of the moon. And then here's another one that you want to fill in. Remember, when the moon is right in front of the sun, can we see it? No. So we know that you're gonna put this picture of the new moon, you're gonna click on it and you're gonna use this mouse feature and you're gonna click on it and drag it over to this spot right here, because we know that's where the new moon is in the cycle. Then you wanna think about, where's the full moon? Is the full moon over here, or is the full moon over here? And then you wanna think about, when do you see about half the moon? Is it over here or over here? Go ahead and fill in those missing moon phases and then press the green check to submit your work. I can't wait to see your work on Seesaw, friends. If you'd like to stick around, I have a really fun song for you by a scientist named Mr. Lee, who talks more about the different moon phases, so you can stick around for the song. If not, head back on Seesaw, make sure to do that work, and I will see you next week. Or after winter break, excuse me, we're going to winter break. So I'll see you after winter break. I hope you have a really awesome holiday. Bye, friends.
It goes new moon, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, third quarter, waning crescent. Those are the phases of the moon. Those are the phases of the moon. Those are the phases of the moon. Those are the phases. You see in the sky most nights, moon looking so fine, so bright, but it doesn't make its own light. You can see it because it reflects the sun's light. It don't really ever look the same. 8 different phases and they all have names. If you want to know why, then listen. It depends on the moon's position relative to the earth. This how it works. New moon phase is where we start first. When the moon between the earth and sun. Look in the sky and you see none of it lit. But if you wait a bit, you slowly begin to see more of it. Until we have a toenail-shaped crescent. Ain't this a great way to learn a lesson? It goes new moon, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, third quarter, waning crescent. Those are the phases of the moon. Those are the phases of the moon. Those are the phases of the moon. Those are the phases. And we slowly start to see more till we at the first quarter, 1/4. And even though it's looking half lit, it's a quarter way gone around its orbit. Now let's get down to business. The next phase up is called a waxing gibbous. If the right side lit up, you know it's waxing. Think about the first letter in relaxing. And we keep on moving to the full moon, all lit up pretty like a showroom. The sun, earth, moon line up in a straight line, so the whole side lit up most of the time, except the lunar eclipse when the moon is under the shadow of the earth that we call a penumbra. The rest is pretty much the same. Reverse the order, change wax to wane. It goes new moon, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, third quarter, waning crescent. Those are the phases of the moon. Those are the phases of the moon. Those are the phases of the moon. Those are the phases. Phases of the moon. Phases of the moon. Phases of the moon. Phases of the moon. The moon takes 29.5 days to change from the first to the last phase. Its gravitational pull causes our tides, along with the sun low and high. Apollo 11, first man on the moon, yeah, US reppin'. Now try to identify the phase of the moon that you see in the sky.